Look at this. Dish of Thrones, the very first.
Man, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hooked.
Chris and I are big fans of the show. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so this season started. We said we're going to start doing this.
That's right.
So,
all you Game of Thrones fans, and it's the same format. Brad knows everything, and
I don't know about all that.
And then you have me.
All right, well, let's get to it. I'm going to try a little something here. I think every episode we'll try to find a song that kind of fits to where we're at in the story. So let's see what we got this week.
Oh.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it.
That's right. It is time to play the game.
The game.
Anybody that knows us knows there's a serious wrestling background here. So I thought about where we're at right now. Game of Thrones is back, so it is time to play the game. What fits better than Triple H?
That's what I'm saying. We had to put that Helmsley in there.
Anyway, yeah. So yes, Dish of Thrones. We're very excited. Our season 5 is underway. Episode 1 just happened this past weekend.
It took forever. What was it? The show was gone for like 2 years. Where'd it go, man? Walking Dead had like 10 seasons already in between waiting on Game of Thrones.
No, you're right. You're actually. It feels that way. I think because the combination of how The Walking Dead splits up their seasons.
Right.
You have the mid-season finale, and then it goes away and then comes back. So it feels like you get like 2 seasons of Walking Dead before Game of Thrones comes back again.
Right.
But and plus, combined with the fact that Game of Thrones is only 10 episodes, and it's always 10 weeks in a row, so it leaves our life, and we have 42 weeks to figure out what to do.
I know. I was like, I had to do a serious recap, man, on that, and I'm pretty sure most people feel the same way about that too. It's like, okay, where are we at before it starts?
No, you're right. I actually noticed, man, that was a long. Previously on Game of Thrones, little bit there. You know what I mean? Like they were really filling you in because I'm like, yeah, you have to. It's been a year,
yeah, for real.
And there's so much, and a lot of things, obviously a lot of things have happened. And you never had a show of this. That's why I love this show. Yeah, I'd never seen a show with this kind of scope. You know what I mean? As far as area and characters, and I mean, books aside, books it's a whole nother level. But
right. How many books are there?
Well, there's 5 out.
Okay.
And we got, I believe there's 2 more to come. He wrote
Isn't this guy about to die? Man, how old is this dude?
It's an interesting story. I was talking to my wife about it because I was saying, can you imagine we're at the point now, which I find very interesting. Being a book reader, I have read the 5 books that have been released.
Okay.
I'm actually most excited about this season because they've already announced that they're going beyond the books. You know what I mean? They're kind of, in a lot of ways. I mean, there's still some areas left, like Arya's story,
right,
that haven't caught up to the end of the books yet. But there's a lot of aspects of the story now where we're past the books. Now, I know, and the showrunners have already said that they've been told the end game for everybody, all the characters.
Oh, okay.
And they basically have admitted that, this is going to be a 7-season show, and we're heading to the end game. We can't wait for the books.
Right.
So, and it's interesting because here's this, George R.R.
Right.
That I think the first book came out in 96.
Really?
That's when the first book, was released. And he has, it's 5 years, 6 years between a lot of the books.
Right.
I think it's been about that for this next book, which is going to be called Winds of Winter.
Okay.
To be released, and there's no, it's not supposed to be released this year, but it's interesting because you think about him. He was this book, it had its audience, its core audience, but it's never going to be that huge because it's a book that's so massive, and it's going to have its hardcore fan base, but not widespread appeal.
Right.
this show has kind of turned this guy into a rock star.
Oh, it sure has.
Here he is getting towards the twilight years, so to speak, and he is a full-on rock star. He's at all these Comic-Cons. He's doing he's making all the appearances. He's in demand.
Right.
And I'm sure that's affected his writing schedule because he's he's not a spring chicken.
Right.
You're not going to go out and do all the appearances and come home and write till 3 in the morning, right?
Change his diet up a little bit so he can enjoy all this fame.
Right. So it looks like there's been some. Looks like on his behalf, it looks like there's been a little bit of conflict. Like I think he's struggling with the fact that he's realizing that his story that he wrote, that he created, the end is not going to be told by him first.
Right. Right.
The show is gonna tell the end, and I think he knows that. He knows he agreed to that, but I think that bothers him a little bit because apparently he's canceled a lot of his appearances, and
Right.
the rumor is that he's been writing like crazy trying to get this 6th book out.
Right.
He released a chapter online of the book right before the show premiered. This season premiered.
Oh,
That had to do with Sansa and Littlefinger, Lord Baelish.
Okay.
So, and he said some weird things like, "Ooh, I've come up with a couple twists to some characters that I'm really excited about, and I'm going to start writing in." In other words, like implying that, I told him the end, but I'm now I got something new, some better idea.
Right.
So,
Right.
who knows? I mean, I'm sure it's it's like it's a love-hate thing. I'm sure
Right.
I mean, the fact that his story has reached so many more people and his status, I'm sure he's loved that, and of course financially, I'm sure it's helped him
Right.
just fine. But it's got to be hard when you've created this whole thing and know that
It's out of
the payoff is not going to be through you.
right.
And he normally writes like an episode every season of the show, and this is the first year he's not writing an episode of the season.
Wow.
So who knows? That could be, I don't know if that's something where he's bitter or if
Right.
it's maybe he's busy because he's trying to write that.
trying
book,
to finish up. Right.
So anyway, but that's that. We'll see. But I am excited about the fact as being a book reader, seeing where they go now because
Right.
there's already things in this first episode. I'm like, ooh, I didn't know about that. That happened a couple times at, last season as well.
Right.
Like the appearance of the White Walkers when remember they had the baby and they touched
Right,
the baby.
right.
That's not in the book. Not that I not
See,
that I
'cause
remember. I'm not gonna
like,
say I'm an
what is
expert.
what are they doing with the baby?
That's the first appearance I've actually seen of them doing anything.
Right.
Like I don't remember that in the book at all. In
right.
fact,
And they left us with that, right? If I
Right.
believe. So we're like, they ain't even got back to that yet.
no, and I could be wrong. Maybe it was in there somewhere. Like I said, it's
Right.
I'm no expert. I've just read the books.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Oh, you're an expert, all right. Don't believe him. He's an expert.
but let's get to it. I figure what we're gonna do here is break down the episodes, what happened, and I'm sure knowing me and Chris, we'll go off on tangents here
You
and there.
get your fill. Wait, that was kind of pirate.
So- Like we said before, we started off with scenes from previous episodes, and that seemed like it was a half hour in itself.
yeah.
It just kind of, and I mean, obviously necessary. You got to put all the, let everybody know what happened to everybody so you can put them in place. Because that's
Right.
what this episode to me was.
Right.
Setting the pieces, kind of putting everything in place,
Right.
reminding you, hey, this is him. He is here. And remember him? He's over here now.
over
She's
now.
here.
She's here.
That's what a lot of this episode was. It was really good. I've heard
Right.
some complaints they thought it was kind of slow and
What
I
do
didn't think it
you-
was. I mean, they're setting the table.
Yes, they
You
are.
know?
You're gonna be, with the cliffhanger that the way they left it. You're just like your mind's going everywhere, because you just don't know what's going on. And then I like the fact that they kind of the way some people calling it slow, the way it came off. I like that because it's feeding into this, And anytime you start off with Tyrion, you know what I mean. I love that dude. That's my
Yeah.
favorite. So.
I mean, yeah.
If we're gonna follow him, and okay, I'm not upset. I want to see where he's going.
Yeah, I always felt that he and Khaleesi are the two stars.
Yes.
They are the main eventers.
Yes.
There you go. They are John Cena and Brock Lesnar, so
Yeah.
to speak. I gotta throw a wrestling.
Man,
out.
Khaleesi was a real
They,
star.
like they're the headliners. You know what I mean? That's another thing. Like I know, like in previous seasons, like for instance, in the books, I think it was book 4. They're not even in the books because they kind of split it up. Like they did half the characters and gave you their timeline of what happened, and in the next book 5, they took the other half and told you what happened to them, and then it all kind of came together at the end.
Oh, okay.
Could you imagine if this show stayed by the books in that way, and you didn't see
Oh,
Tyrion and Khaleesi?
It will fall off.
Yeah, it would go heroes.
Right.
The crowd would, the viewing audience would disappear. So, we were having a little heroes discussion before we started.
That was a good tie-in, man.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, episode starts with, I believe, is our first ever flashback on
I don't
Game of
remember
Thrones.
I don't remember any flashbacks.
If I didn't, read the books, I'd be like, whoa, who are these two little girls?
That's how I was.
I'm like, Westeros is dangerous enough. Why are you running through the woods
Right.
by yourselves? Like, you'll get, this is Westeros. You'll get killed at home.
Right.
And you're out there asking for it. But we find out it's young Cersei with her little friend going to see Maggie the Frog, which is her name, the fortune teller.
Right.
Which I like the line where, which, by the way, I thought the girl they casted as young Cersei was perfect.
She was.
What a bitchy little look on her face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she was. And the attitude.
Yeah.
You're not scary to me.
Yeah, very believable. I'm like, yep, seriously.
The other girl's terrified, so they put them together. That was a perfect pair, like, just to make her look even more, devilish and mean and
Right. No, I thought that was great. So they go and they, this is a whatever fortune teller, soothsayer, whatever.
Right.
Wants to know her future, and I like the line where the Maggie says, everyone wants to know their future till they know it.
Right.
So she, Maggie eventually gets, Cersei does her thing and threatens. Obviously, she's been doing that since a young child.
Of course.
Gets what she wants, and she gets her prophecy. First one, she allows the fortune teller allows 3 questions.
3 questions.
And I think the first question was basically, will I marry the prince? And that's in reference to Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. So just the background, that was because she was promised to Rhaegar. But Rhaegar, and then eventually, because everything happens, and that never happens. But at that time in the book, she was, very smitten with Rhaegar, because Rhaegar was supposed to be, a very valiant, good-looking guy.
Right.
Not like his father, considered to be like a.
Because his father is the
had a good
king.
leader. Yeah, his father was the Mad King. Right. Well, she asked if she's going to marry the prince, because at that time she wanted to, and that was kind of, I know it's her father's plan to have her marry Prince Targaryen, because obviously Tywin's plan was always to have Cersei become queen.
Right.
And to which Maggie replies, "No, you won't wed the prince. You'll wed the king." So obviously she likes the sound of that, not really thinking what that means.
Right.
Yeah, I believe she asked, will I have children, or will we have children? And I like what she said. She goes, "The king will have 20 children. You will have 3."
Dang.
So which is
there's
pretty much
more than what we know out there. Still.
Right. So all the Baratheon bastards out there, which I love this show because bastard's not a bad word.
Right.
We can just it's just a part of the show. But
they introduce you. We have the Snow bastard here, or whatever the Stark bastards here.
Right. King Robert. Obviously, this Maggie knows what she's talking about. King Robert had his bastard children all around Westeros, and maybe even beyond. Who knows? But and obviously the reference to the 3 children are the 3 children she had with, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Her brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. No hand. We got Littlefinger and No Hand.
That's a problem with this show.
It's so many characters. I'm trying to think of his name too.
Anyway, it'll come to me in a second. We all know who he is.
Not Tyrion, is his name? Jamie.
Thank you. Jamie Lannister.
Jamie Lannister. The King Slayer.
Anyway, so obviously they had their 3 children.
Right.
Who we know, the lovely Joffrey.
Right.
Tommen, Myrcella and Tommen, the current king-to-be Tommen. But anyway, so she hears that her kids will have crowns and gold, and so are their shrouds. So she's thinking, and obviously as a fortune teller it's cryptic.
Right.
You might take it one way and it might mean another. We shall see. But in the scene, Cersei obviously was liking what she heard.
Right.
I like what they did. They cut it down. The prophecy. They cut it down a little bit from the books.
Okay.
Which I'm glad, because I think it gives you a little more, and it's another aspect. It gives you a little bit more of an idea of, her end, and which I'm glad they left Cersei's end. That is
right.
Which I'm glad they left out. So anyway, and then we cut to, right to Cersei and Jamie. Actually, we see Cersei ascending the steps.
Right.
And everybody's waiting to see the hand of the king Tywin, because he's just been murdered and he's dead, laying in the sept with the weird stone eyes over his closed eyes. Everyone, and they and she walks into the sept, and there's Jaime standing, and they're both standing over, and they have a little conversation about
basically she blames Jaime for everything.
Basically does what she does. Like, he's called Jaime an idiot. Like, hey, Tyrion killed him on purpose. You killed him by mistake.
Right.
And basically calls him like a bumbling fool.
Right.
And puts all the blame on him. She's good at that. She's good at placing blame. One thing that's interesting is there's not a lot of seeming love between these two anymore, is there?
Nah. And so that's why we're thinking maybe he's the one that's gonna choke her out. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? It might come to that. I don't. Again, that's past where.
But there's not a lot of love, but her words hold weight with him. It does, because that he's like, okay, so he's going to get she basically attacked him for not being a good father. He's like, if I was a father at all, they'd be dead.
Well, I think he realized she has a point.
Right.
He was reckless. He didn't, he made a reckless action and it had consequences, and he realizes that. I think that, but at the same token, it's funny because he's, what I love about this show is, his whole process of when he got imprisoned, got captured, he came back a different man.
He sure did.
And Cersei obviously doesn't like this new man because they were very alike. Think about season 1, Jaime.
Right. Season 1, Jaime, who pushes kids out of towers.
Right. I was exactly getting that point, because at that point, him and Cersei were like two peas in the pod.
Right.
They looked like they were a perfect match to each other. Perfect incestuous match.
Right.
But that's what cracks me up with the show, because now Jaime, since then, has become, it seems like a little bit,
he's humbled.
He seems more honorable. And I'm laughing. I go, this show actually makes you start to cheer for a guy that that
you didn't even
pushed a 10-year-old kid out of a window.
Right.
And like now you're kind of pulling for Jaime, and makes you question your own your own like what kind of person am I?
Right.
But so they have their little talk. Cersei plays the blame game, and we'll see where that goes. We move on to a wooden box, and we're peeking out a little hole in a wooden box.
I knew right away, dude.
And that box opens, and out rolls Tyrion.
Yep.
The guy, our guy.
He's such a great actor, man. The guy, he's all stiff, and he's true Tyrion form, just cynical and looking for the alcohol.
Right. Comes right out, rolling out of the box, and goes and finds the wine. That's one thing him and his sister have in common. Cersei
could throw back.
I mean, she's she has that 10 a.m. little glass of wine.
Because what's her name? The future queen.
Right.
She said something about it too.
Yeah.
We don't drink this early, but if you want some, maybe we could rustle up some.
Yeah. Cersei and Tyrion like the same breakfast. What I mean? They like to drink their breakfast and get the day started with a little buzz, to start the day. Which you'd think that maybe they'd enjoyed each other's company more, having those similar interests. But anyway, so Tyrion, by the way, he's in Pentos, which is the same. He's at the same house of beginning of the episode. Remember the beginning of the show? That's where Daenerys and her brother,
That's
where they were staying. That's where they were being harbored and staying right before she was introduced to Khal Drogo, and married off. I think his name is it starts with an I. Ilio or Illyrio or something like that, who owns the house. He's a friend of Varys.
Right.
So he harbored the Targaryen. So he's a part of Varys' plan, because you see Varys has a plan to try to get Daenerys back to the throne.
Right.
To in King's Landing. So and that's
I don't know, because I didn't read the books, but in a book that they talk about. So is he the reason that Daenerys was there in the first place? Because that's his friend. Wow.
He's the one.
This guy's controlling everything.
Varys is the reason they're even alive. Varys is the one that he traded out when they were infant babies, and Robert had them slaughtered. He had the babies. He brought different babies, and so the different. That's why Robert thought he'd slaughtered all the Targaryen children, but he smuggled them out of Westeros, out of King's Landing, and sent them to. Well, they went to a variety of places, but when our story started from, they were in Pentos at this house, and at that time it was what was his name, Daenerys' brother, Viserys. Viserys is.
I didn't like that guy at all.
Well, we weren't supposed to either. Which that was another one I thought was good casting. He just looked like You wanted to punch him the moment you saw his face. Perfect. Anyway, let's not back up 5 years. But they're at that house, and Tyrion comes rolling out, grabs a wine,
throws up on the dude's nice wine. Carpet. Yeah. This place is plush, man. It's looking nice.
I gotta disagree. I think he dodged the carpet. I think it was. I have to rewatch that. I was still looking at that. At least I think he kept it on the hardwood.
Did he? I thought he hit the carpet.
You know, this is very important. We have to go back and see it. and then he went right back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And I like
puke and rally. He got a puke and rally.
I like the wordplay between them too, because he's all like, "Do you know how it feels to push poop through a little hole?" And he goes, "Do you know how it feels to pick up your poop and throw it overboard?"
Great line. Anything involving these two talking to each other,
I'm in.
When this is all said and done, I hope we have a spin-off show and it's just them two
talking
at the end, and they're just they have an apartment together, and all they do is sit on the porch and talk to each other. I hope that's a spin-off show. You know what I mean? Man. But obviously, right after that line, they have a discussion, and Varys is just kind of trying to get him to realize that, you know, he still has value, because obviously Tyrion's in the dumps. So he realizes now he's officially a father killer, and he goes, I'm no longer. I have no status in society because I've done the worst thing.
Right.
You know, not really regretting it, but just kind of like, what else am I going to do now?
Right.
Like his life, the reason why he did it, because he felt like, what else does he have to do? And Varys is, trying to get him to realize that you still have a part to play. You can, you have value, and and because Varys sees value in it. Because I think Varys understands that Tyrion's a very bright guy. Like you said, a humble guy. He doesn't really have any aspirations of. He's the kind of guy you want helping someone get to the throne, because he doesn't have aspirations of reaching it.
Right, he's
smart,
but he's smart enough and good enough to actually rule, but that's not his part. Like he other people wouldn't be able to see that. You know what I mean? But Varys can, and it's funny because I was unsure if he even liked him, because it was like at certain parts during the last season he could have helped him out a little bit more, but he didn't. But it seems like this Varys dude is like the storyteller, like he's writing it. He knows when to stay out, when to jump in. He's went this far without getting caught, and he's just so sinister, but he's actually helping. So it's like he gives you these mixed feelings.
Yeah, I mean, he has his ambitions and he has his goals, and he understands that. I think he understands that you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet, in a way. Right, like, you understand it's never going to be pretty to get what you want, but he also understands the importance of having strong leadership and the need for it in Westeros and in King's Landing, and they haven't had it. They've had the Mad King. They've had Baratheon, who was a disaster. Right. And then you had Joffrey. So you've gone through a concession of kings that have just been disastrous, and now look where King's Landing's at. It's broke, it's in debt, and he understands that, and he understands that he I guess through the only thing I'm like, he must have had some contact, obviously away from the story, with.
He knows who to trust, man.
Yeah, well, he knows Daenerys, and he must, because to have that, maybe it's through stories and through his whispers, because he really has faith that Daenerys can be that person.
Right.
Khaleesi could be that leader, because she has the right combination of the firm hand, but she also has a heart for the people that she rules over. Right. So
he has balls, but no balls. You know what I mean?
Right. They got cut off, but he still has them.
He still has them. It's like that ghost arm thing. I don't know.
And speaking of Khaleesi,
yeah,
we're off to Marine.
Yes, let's go there.
Where Khaleesi has been learning some tough lessons.
Yeah.
The first scene we see, obviously, is the shot of the giant statue being pulled off the pyramid. Right. I like that. That was a kind of a cool concept, how they built the little slide.
And
so it could slide down without really breaking anything. Because that makes sense. Like, how else? I mean, you kind of it was just kind of a cool visual.
Right.
And the first scene after that, so now we know we're in Marine. We're where Khaleesi is, but this was we didn't see her first off. First off, we seen a one of the Unsullied in a brothel.
Yeah, right.
Goes to the brothel, which was interesting.
If you know anything about the Unsullied, they don't have junk. So
yeah, they're in them and Varys.
Right.
And the part what I wanted to ask you is,
Okay.
do you get a discounted rate just for cuddling?
Why you gonna ask me?
I just want to know. Just
You bet. Hey, I'm not paying full price for cuddling.
Like, come on. Like,
and he picks the right one.
And this isn't the first time because she
really
said
picky.
you want the usual, or she said something like that.
And he didn't even want her to take nothing off. He was like, "No, keep just the top off." I guess.
Yeah, which is interesting. And I mean, he paid the price.
Oh, did
but
he?
I was just wondering. I'm like, I wonder if you get a discounted rate just for cuddling. I don't know. This is Pentos. This isn't even a restaurant. I don't know. And I don't remember, but I don't believe that was covered in the books. I'm just kidding.
Right, next time I'm in the red light district, I'll ask. No, I don't go there.
Just wondering if cuddles come at a discounted rate or not.
It better shoot.
So anyway, obviously he's getting his cuddles and he gets his throat slit in the process, and it's the Sons of the Harpy, which you see the mask, which I thought looked very cool.
Right.
And a mask. And the next scene is we see Khaleesi being delivered the mask and being told of the murder. And so the Sons of the Harpy are kind of like they're a radical group inside a Marine.
Okay.
That have been causing problems. Have been trying to obstruct Khaleesi's process and kind of ruling and creating order in Marine.
Right.
And this was like the first time there's been like a violent crime, like an actual murder by the Sons of the Harpy.
But they're like promoted kind of by the rich that lost power.
Right. They're known to kind of be like a certain. They're mysterious, so every one of the noblemen in Marine are denying. Oh, we don't have anything to do with it. But that. I mean, someone has to have something to do with it because they're getting resources and they're getting, they're there. Obviously, they're doing something.
Right.
So it's, interesting part of that. It raises the interesting question of, it's one thing to you liberate the people. It's one thing to storm in with your dragons and your hot blonde hair and all that stuff, and you look at and the slaves look on you and you inspire them to fight. And they overthrow the power in place and
the status quo.
It's a whole nother thing. Once it's over, they go, wait a second, we're free. But free's great until you're hungry.
Yep.
And broke.
Right.
And there's no plan in place.
Right.
For you. I mean, now you don't have that job or whatever you had, even though it wasn't a job, you were enslaved, but you were fed.
Right.
You had a life, had a direction. And now she's dealing with the issues of, liberating, that's great, but liberating without a plan, that's a problem.
Yeah. A big problem.
So you got this group that's gaining support because now there's certain slaves that don't have the fighting pits, which those were slaves, which that came into play a little bit later, I think, because we'll get back to that. But basically, where they're asking about the fighting pits to be reopened because that was
they can make money there,
right?
It's they're not forced to do it now. He could train up like boxing. He was forced to box, and then now you box because you want to box.
Right. But, and she's like, no, that's, I don't really understand. I mean, I get it because she's just being, at this point, I think it's stubborn.
Right.
Because she's like, no, that's barbaric. But I mean, she's not being very understanding of different cultures and stuff. It's barbaric in one and the other. I mean, but to me, I'm like, well, wait a second. You had, we know in Westeros.
That's what she was married to, though.
Well, Westeros, you had tournaments. You had those jousting tournaments for the king and people died. And, it wasn't the plan, maybe because it wasn't like fighting to the death, but that's you got to understand. She's learning right now. This is her learning process. I think that different cultures, you can't just impose all your will and completely. You got to have respect for, if you're going to rule multiple cultures, you got to have respect for those cultures, and I think that's her learning process we're at right now.
Right.
And we'll see where that goes. She's been stuck in Marine. It's funny because she was always like one of the most fun storylines, and lately it's been
she's stuck.
She's stuck there.
Right.
Sitting in her chair with people coming up begging for stuff, and it's kind of like, you want her to get moving. I get why they're, I get the point of her where she's at.
Right.
But
we get some nice visuals, but I want to see some.
Right.
I don't want to see your leisure time right now.
All right. So we'll get back to her. We see Khaleesi a little later, but then we cut to the wall.
Yeah.
The wall.
Now, okay, favorite character is Tyrion, but character I would want to be Jon Snow.
Really?
I like that dude for some reason. Man.
I like him, but I don't know if I want to be him.
He's tortured a little bit,
right?
But he, his rise to like if he, to power or whatever. It's just like he's being chosen because of who he is, like because of his character. He doesn't really want to be anything, but the people that want to be in charge see that he's a threat because he's loved and he actually has heart.
Without trying to be
without trying, like
yeah.
he's just trying to just do what the best thing for what he's given, and I just got a lot of respect for that character,
Yeah, well, doesn't work in Westeros, my man. It's all about who your daddy is, who your mommy and daddy
who your mommy and daddy is.
But you're right. You make a good point. He has been like rising, and it's all about through actions and through that becoming becoming a leader.
Right.
And people following him because of who he is, not where he's from, and that continue. I thought they did a real good job of continuing that. I thought he was really good in this episode.
Yeah,
I thought
it.
I've heard some flack, and I don't really agree with it on
what they say
on Jon Snow, the actor who plays him, that he's not not necessarily he's a bad actor, but like they haven't done a good job of building him. But I like you just said, you obviously disagree. You like the way they.
That's and
ridiculous. I've enjoyed the Jon Snow. I laugh because like he's in the books. He's obviously very strong and
right.
I don't remember him, but in the book it's kind of fun, or in the show it's kind of funny because he's pretty little.
Okay.
He's like this little guy. Like even though I was watching the elevator, I'm like, he's about as tall as that Red Priestess when they're going up the old elevator.
Oh right, yeah.
He's kind of small, so it's kind of but it's Hollywood. Everybody's
right.
Small. Everybody. Well, it's not Hollywood. You know what I mean?
It's
movies.
They got to fit in the TV.
They got to
man.
fit the shot. Can't have kind of like. Well, I'm not getting off topic. Like, can't have a Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart moment. I'm like, how do you hit that shot? One's 5 feet tall, one's 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. Get hard. I don't know if I want to. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we're at the wall. Like I said, I liked the scene where Stannis beckons Jon Snow.
Right.
And they're going up the elevator, and Jon Snow has a quick little conversation with Melisandre, the Red Priestess, and she looks like she's taking a liking to Jon Snow very much.
She's excited he's not a virgin.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, yeah, and he's like,
what a weird question to ask in the elevator.
Not in Westeros, man. That is a very. Hey, how you doing? Are you a virgin? Remember Cersei met Sansa, like in the first episode or first season or two. What was it? I remember she like basically, hey, how you doing? Have you had your blood yet?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, nice, yeah. No, oh, okay. It's not like these are just they make these efforts to make you understand that what is socially acceptable and normal is very different there than here. Anyway, Jon Snow goes up, has a quick little conversation. Looks like Melisandre has some plans for Jon Snow. You can tell that she's interested in him, and her. She's gonna want to use him for something.
So, and I know a little bit more in the books, but with her taking interest in him, and I thought me and you might have had this conversation a while back. So is he a Baratheon bastard? Is he or
who?
Jon? Like I know he's
we don't know yet.
He's a Stark, but why? Because she likes the blood of the kings.
Oh, we don't know that yet.
Right.
And then in the books, they've gone no further forward as far as there's a lot of theories out there.
Right.
Which, there's theories that that he is the key to everything.
Right.
Go find him if you want to find him.
Right.
But there's theories that he's the key, and that his lineage and his true parental lineage is going to be the main reveal, is to be the main thing of this whole story. Maybe I don't really want to go into telling that whole story today because I've had I actually agree it could be very possible.
Right.
But as of right now, you just know him as Ned Stark's bastard son from some random woman when he was out fighting the battles for the eventual King Robert when throwing down the Mad King. So
no, I don't want to talk no more. But when his little brother travels, what?
No, we can talk about it. I just don't. Okay. I wasn't going to explain the whole thing when his little brother.
No, because we haven't even seen that yet.
What?
But he's Bran is going to connect to that tree.
I do know,
he's
not going to be on this season at all.
What?
Yeah, they did. They announced that before while they were filming the season, that Bran storyline Bran's storyline already passed. Well, it's pretty much at the same spot. He's at the end of the books, and they're not even going to deal with that this season, which I get, because I got to be
right.
It's an interesting thing that, because I don't know, you don't want to be critical, but I will say this: as that actor has grown, he's become far less believable of a Bran Stark to me. I think.
You think they got to replace him?
I don't know. I don't know if they feel that way. That's just how I watched. Because to me, when he was a kid, he was he looked like a Stark. He had that feel. I think as he got older, I think the character took on like he doesn't have the strength that Bran Stark does in the books, even though he's like the strength of his convictions and what he says and
right.
Now they could use. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. He didn't feel like a Stark to me as he got older. Right. I don't know what it is. It just didn't feel like the rest of them when they established a real rugged kind of a feel to him, But and I don't know where this story's going, because we're kind of right at where the end of the books go with him too.
Right.
I do know that he's paralyzed. He's kind of reached where he wanted to go. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think now we're just going to have to kind of assume that he's learning from the three-eyed raven or the three-eyed crow, depending on the book or the show.
I thought they would at least show like that. I know I didn't read all of the books, but I thought there was something mentioned about he gets to like see his dad when he was younger. And,
right, does have the ability through those what they call those, the werewood trees, the heart trees or whatever, that he'll have the ability to see the past.
Right.
Like he can touch those trees and it's connected, and he can see things that happened in the past, things that are happening now. And I think obviously that will play a huge role.
Right.
Going forward.
So you think they'll save that for the next season or whatever? But not touch on it. Well, like you said, they're not going to, but I would think that they would touch on it somewhat, maybe towards the end or something.
My guess is when we see him again, he's going to be very different than what he is now. Because look about who he just showed up with.
Right.
Too. The guy's in a tree. He's a part of a tree.
Right.
And it looks like he was bringing him here to kind of take his place. I think it's very possible that the next time we see Bran Stark, he's connected to this tree.
See,
and he's and he's kind of just sitting there.
I want him to be controlling one of those dragons, riding on the back of a dragon or something.
I don't think he'll be one of the three heads that they always speak of. The dragon has three heads or whatever. Right. I don't think he'll be one of the dragon riders.
Right.
In my opinion, I think I think you will never see him leave where he's at.
Snow might be.
He might.
I don't know.
No, he might. No, it's a good. Absolute. There's going to be another character introduced.
Right.
Down the road. There is more, that we'll see. That it's more Targaryens. We haven't met all the Targaryens yet.
What?
So, and I that should be. Let me just say that was in the 5th book.
Okay.
Another Targaryen. Now, whether they decide to use them or not, that'll be a big tell where this character plays a role in the stories. Because there's been,
because we only know of 3 Targaryens, right? We got.
Well, we know of Khaleesi.
Khaleesi, her brother, and the old guy at the wall.
Very nice job, yes.
Yeah.
The maester of the Night's Watch.
Right.
Was supposed to be king.
Right. That's their uncle.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was supposed to be. Didn't want it. Yeah.
Right.
And So that's all the Targaryens we know.
We know. Okay.
But you know that. I'll decide to play a role. But yeah, there's. I think that in this show, and probably in this season, probably in this season, we might see at some point or at least hear of the possibility of at least one more Targaryen, if not. Okay.
But how?
We'll see.
I don't know.
I don't know, but like I said, I can't guarantee it because, like I said, the books are they've already cut the fat.
Right.
Not all of it. They're already cutting the fat. Like in this episode, which I'll explain here in a little bit. They're cutting the fat off the books. They're kind of getting to end games of certain characters that they don't really feel the need to go further. And to me, as a viewer, and I was surprised, especially at the end of this episode, I was shocked. But and we're gonna get to that, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
But
okay.
So Stannis has this talk with Jon Snow. Basically, tells him, "Hey, look, I need I need the wildlings to be a part of my army." because he already knows that Jon Snow is not going to not going to agree to have the Night's Watch fight with him, because that's not, Night's Watch doesn't get involved in political affairs.
Didn't he try that at first though? Because he was like, "I'll give you the North," and he's like, "Nah, we're gonna stay here on the Wall." Like he's tried it.
He tried, and it's funny because he's frustrated by Jon Snow, but he respects Jon Snow,
right,
and his honor. You know what I mean? And and he understands it, because Stannis is a black and white dude. You know what I mean? Right. You have your job. You have, this is, there's right and wrong. There's a way to do things. And that's why a lot of people don't like him, because he is so black and white.
Right.
That's why Varys even doesn't like Stannis, likes him as a war commander or as a general.
Right.
He's a brilliant general of war, but no leader of men.
Right.
Just like Robert, his brother, Robert Baratheon, is a great warrior.
Right.
But he's no king.
Right.
Great warriors don't make good kings.
No.
So, hello. But so yeah, he's trying to talk Tyrion into. He tells him, "Hey, go have a talk with Mance Rayder." Mance Rayder is the king beyond the wall,
right?
That we've seen in past seasons. He's the one that organized all the wildlings beyond the wall, all the different tribes to come together to try to get past the wall,
right?
So because they know bad things are coming. I mean, that's what you kind of forget in all this. As far as the wildlings are concerned, and now I think Jon Snow realizes that all these little problems below the wall are nothing in comparison to what's coming from above it, i.e. the White Walkers.
Yeah.
So
I hope they get in a lot of White Walkers this season. I want to learn like some.
Yeah, I think we got to start getting to that point, because I think they're gonna, they're the I think the major antagonist. I would think going, that we haven't seen much, but that we get wrapped up in our Westeros problems of political advancement, and everybody wanting to do, but the big problem's beyond the wall,
right?
And now the Night's Watch knows that, or Jon Snow knows that, the wildlings know that, Mance Rayder, the king definitely knew that. He was able to. All he's ever wanted is to get them below the wall and let them get the hell out of there,
right?
Because he knows what's coming. So Jon Snow talks to him about that and basically tells him that, hey, Stannis wants you to bend the knee. If you bend the knee and accept Stannis as your king, he'll allow the wildlings to fight for him, and they'll be free. And after they help him, get the King's Landing and take the throne, they can. He promised them land and everything else. Like, they'll be free below the wall. And he doesn't want to do it. He goes, look, we don't bend the knee. That's what we are. That's what I am, and that's what we believe. It goes against everything we believe. That's why we live out there. That's why, but we do not bend the knee. And one of the great lines, one of the great reactions is, and Jon Snow is telling him, "Dude, bend the knee. They're going to kill you.
You're being stupid.
You don't be proud. It's not a time to be proud. You've reached your goal. You're on this side of the wall. Now you have an opportunity to give all the people that you've made promises to have the opportunity to stay here and to not be prisoners. This is a good, basically, in other words, a good offer. This is the best you can hope for. Why are you resisting against this?" And and he basically tells a lot of mutual respect between these two.
Yeah, it is.
They've had their conversations and even had their attempts on each other's lives, or near attempts, but they have an understanding between each other, and they both respect each other as leaders. And he basically tells him, I because it's not about me, that you wonder how I got all these, clans together. It's because of what I said and what the goal was. And if I were to bend the knee, that would go against everything that the whole purpose of this. He goes, this was never about me. That's why I was able to get them together, because they realized that it was never about me, self-preservation or anything. It's about, this collective effort to get to safety and to save our families, and stuff like that. Very different departure from the books.
You know what I like about their conversation is that usually in shows like this, when you have a guy that's being stubborn, is going to die for his honor, he's like unbelievably tough. He's like a metal wall. Like nothing you say scares me. I'm not scared. I'm not. But this guy was very scared.
Well, especially, I love the line.
He says, "Wait, they're gonna burn me?" Like he's like, what? He didn't even mention burning. He's like, "What are you guys gonna shoot me? Are you gonna hang me? What are you gonna do?" He's like, "They're gonna burn you alive." He was like, "I'm gonna admit right now, I'm really scared, but."
Right, that was great.
So it was just so human. It was perfect because not, like that to me, a real hero is scared. Somebody that's standing for something, they're very scared. And a lot of times in these hero movies, they're unafraid. They're so unafraid. It's the person that's scared and still does it. So I'm Game of Thrones got me just so hooked on every level.
No, I agree. I mean, that's what a heroic act is. It's in the face of fear.
Right.
So you respect it in a lot of ways. And what I love about the show is because we're having this. We seem to be on the same page, but we can talk to someone else and going, "That's just stupid."
Right.
You've made your you've completed your obligation. All these clans, you got them on this side of the wall. Why not just bend the knee? You can always go back on it later, but that's not what he's about. You know what I mean? He's all about honor, and he made a promise. But yeah, I did like the reaction when he said, they're going to burn you alive, and you saw the true fear in his eyes because I think he said that's a hell of a way to go or something like that. So basically, we that little scene ends with, him, Jon Snow, realizing that he's not going to get him to agree to those terms.
Right.
So we move on from there, and we're finally in the Eyrie, the Lord Littlefinger, Lord Baelish, and Sansa looking all gothic. We got gothic right? Sansa.
Yeah.
They got it. I guess we can color hair in Westeros. I thought she was a redhead.
Yeah, is she right?
She's a dark brunette, sitting there very stoic looking. Obviously not Sansa anymore. She's now Elaine Stone, the quote unquote bastard daughter of Lord Littlefinger, Lord Baelish.
Right.
I just like saying Littlefinger.
He's Littlefinger. He's always Littlefinger.
One of my favorite scenes, because this was like our comic relief, is watching young Lord Robin doing his sword training.
He was
swinging it like. I wouldn't even say he's swinging like a little girl because that's insulting to the little girls.
Right.
But I just loved it. He's sitting there watching, and you could see in his eyes the amusement. But, but he's putting on the face of like he's serious about this.
Right.
We're prepping Lord Robin for to be the Lord of the Eyrie. I'm just here as the holding place for He knows he's going to kill this kid off the first chance that it benefits him, but he's got to play you got to keep the good face, and basically tells what's his name, Royce Waymar or whatever.
Right.
You train him up. I expect him to be a warrior by the time I come back.
Right.
And Royce is like, gave him the right. This kid ain't gonna amount to much. We already know about Lord Robin. He was a nurtured little boy, and he was even
very nurtured.
He's even a very nurtured older boy. I mean, he just got off the teat about what? 6 months ago.
When she died. When he got
about 13, 14 years old. So obviously that was a very quick scene, and basically all you really got to was establish that Littlefinger's playing his games over there.
Right.
And this is different, and they leave. They say, okay, we're going. I can't remember where they said they were going, but they actually head west. We don't know where they're going. Sansa took off with Littlefinger, which, if I remember, that's a departure from the books. Last I've heard that they're still in the Eyrie.
Right.
But now they're leaving. They're going somewhere west.
Now, with them two, I was under the impression, based off of last season, that he's kind of wanting her for himself. But why paint her as your daughter? Is that not?
I think he's playing his game. Here's the thing, he loved her mother.
Right.
I think he sees, and they said in the book, I think they said in the show, he sees a lot of Catelyn in Sansa.
Right. I think they did say something.
He also knows what she holds the key to. As it stands right now, based on what your knowledge is, she holds the key to Winterfell. She holds the key to the North. She is the heir to Winterfell. She's the last living Stark that they know of. Remember, they don't know that Bran's alive.
Right.
They don't know that Arya's alive. And even if they, they don't even know, Jon Snow is just some bastard, which we don't, that's what we know.
Right.
And to him, and he has this ultimate gaming chip of her, because they all think she's dead. They don't know where she is. That's why he has her under the Elaine Stone guise, you know what I mean, where she's this identity, because whoever marries her is now the heir to Winterfell.
Right.
By right.
Right.
By birthright, right? Now the Boltons, the wackos, the Boltons Roose Bolton's now the Warden of the North. His son, if you remember, is the one that gave the choppy to Theon.
Yeah,
Ramsay.
Theon's his dog.
Like, they're currently in control of the North,
Right.
but he also knows that the North doesn't support them. They don't like them.
Right.
They have a reputation. They're only in control of the North because they helped out Lord Tywin, who's now dead.
Right.
With the Red Wedding.
It's really about that.
So
right.
it's very shaky.
Right.
His grasp on the North, and he knows that, and he knows I think.
Is that who he's trying to get Sansa to marry?
I think
Sansa,
he's doing. I think he either
some kind of double cross thing.
I think he's just telling Sansa that because he wants her to believe that's his plan. But I think, in my opinion, I think his ultimate plan is he wants to marry her because he's right now Lord of the Eyrie. The moment, especially when he eventually figured out the way how he wants to kill Robin, little Lord Robin.
Right.
That the Eyrie is going to be his.
Right.
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 He marries Sansa. Now the North is his. Now all of a sudden he's Lord of the Eyrie. He's Warden of the North, the Lord of Winterfell. You know what I mean? I think that's what he's thinking.
Right.
He always says, he ambition is all he's about. Chaos is a ladder was his famous quote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's created this. Think about Littlefinger in the show. He's created everything. He did everything. The very beginning of the show, where the show start, the killing of Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King, is where it started, right? Yep. And we found out that he manipulated that whole thing. He had Lysa Arryn, which was, little Robin's mother, who was in love with him. Right. She killed her husband. Her husband was Jon. She did it on his. So he started this whole thing. He wanted everything that's happening now is what he wanted. He wanted the chaos. He knew about killing him. Robert Baratheon, because he was the one guy in Robert Baratheon's ear that would try to speak sense to him.
Right.
Once he was gone, he knew Robert Baratheon would destroy the kingdom, which is what he wants.
Right.
He wants the chaos because he always said chaos is a ladder. That's your opportunity to move up.
Right.
And he comes from humble backgrounds. He doesn't have the name. He's built his way up through manipulation. And now he's got a plan.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Right? He is, to this point, has really been the number one antagonist as far as, he started all the conflict in the show.
Right.
And it's been a part of his plan.
Yes, because he got Stark his head chopped off too in a way.
Right. And in the books they explain a little bit more. I know there's parts where he goes, he had to move certain plans forward, like he talks to Sansa. Right. Because I had to move this quicker because Cersei and Joffrey, they've ruined Westeros quicker than I thought they would.
Right.
So I've got to get moving.
Right.
Because it's coming down harder. But that was always a part of his plan, to have the King's Landing falter under the leadership of Joffrey and remember, he's the one that killed Joffrey.
Yeah.
He's the one that put that whole plan in place. The whole poisoning of Joffrey was him.
Finger.
Right. So, I could see where his plan is. He's got the key to Winterfell. He's got the Eyrie, and that's huge. Winterfell's the biggest region in Westeros.
Right.
You control the wall. You control everything in the north. There's a lot. They don't really talk about that, but there's a lot of massive armies and families that have massive armies in the north.
Right.
And combined with the Eyrie, which you got to think the Eyrie is impenetrable, right?
Right.
It's up in the mountains. It's in the sky.
Right.
You can't. It's been untouched by all this ravaging and war. That and Highgarden, which the Tyrells, which is Marjorie, those are the two places that are essentially untouched. So they're the richest.
Right.
So that's Littlefinger has a plan. You don't need to doubt that. I think it's like he has his plan, and I think Varys knows it. That was the whole reason why Varys the spider, which is with Tyrion.
Right. Them two are like the
I think
opposite.
They're adversarial.
Like yin and yang.
Yeah, they're adversarial. He knows what Littlefinger's doing.
Right.
And he doesn't want that. He's trying to put an end to it. Right. And his key to that is Khaleesi.
I like the dialogue between them two too.
Yeah. It's always great.
It's all it's just so much great dialogue.
So that we move on from the Eyrie. Oh, yeah, we go back to King's Landing. We go back to Cersei, and guess what? She's drinking.
Yeah.
She's drinking. Quick little things. You're drinking. I think it's like, what is that? What was that little party? Was that like the after the funeral, the wake, or so to speak, or whatever? Was that what kind of that was?
Yeah, kind of like, that's what it seemed, because everybody was like basically your condolences. There's the one guy talking to her. She's got her back turned. She's like, yeah, thanks, whatever.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Loras Tyrell.
Yeah.
Where he's going like, your father, you can't think of one nice thing to say about him. and she's just waiting for him to finish talking. I thought that I got a kick out of that. But what was interesting is we saw Lancel,
the cousin, who I didn't know he killed Robert.
Well, yeah.
Or had
we know, like, and she had something to do with it. Like, you know, remember they were sleeping together. The cousin,
right,
she just loves the family. She loves it in the house.
Keep it in the family.
She loves it in the house. But he looks very different. He's now a Sparrow, which the Sparrows are going to play a big role.
Okay.
The Sparrows are this religious group that's coming in, and we're going to see the High Sparrow, and it's a religious faction that's in King's Landing that's gaining momentum. You're going to see religion take a bigger role as we go forward. I will tell you that.
I do. Okay, I remember something like that in the books too. Like, because they're gonna come down on her pretty hard because they basically she's like kind of practicing witchcraft or some kind of craziness with the. I don't know if I should say, but the mountain, right? Something he's not, or or is that part of the fat they trim it? See, I don't know.
No,
she turns him into some kind of monster.
Yeah, he's gonna come. No, they're gonna. I think they're gonna go forward with that.
Okay, because
that's with the Maester though.
Okay.
The Maester of because he's using his weird.
I'll keep that head.
Dark little magic. You know that. Obviously, they're gonna go forward with that because he already talked about how he can save him.
Right.
We'll see. And that in the books we haven't really got forward other than the rumors that the mountain there's someone running around with a mountain helm,
right,
and pillaging and destroying things. So we'll see. But the point I was making with the Sparrow is that they've always been around. Like, that's a religious sect of King's Landing in Westeros. Like, but we have a new High Sparrow now that's going to be coming. He's a new High Sparrow, and he's a lot more, he's gaining a lot more support. He's a lot more aggressive in his approach and his, his desire to spread their belief.
Right.
The other High Sparrow, it was in the show, but not a big deal. Remember when Joffrey was going through the streets and they had the riot and he got a cow pie thrown in his face?
Right. I remember that.
And they showed a guy getting beaten, and that was the High Sparrow.
Getting beat and
killed. Like, there was one guy that got torn apart, essentially.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was the acting High Sparrow, which was kind of in the pocket of the Lannisters. And he got killed at that moment. That's when that High Sparrow got killed. Now this is a new High Sparrow that's coming in, leading the religion, and he was killed by all the people starving that were frustrated in King's Landing, all the poor.
Right.
Remember, and that's where Sansa got trapped and was about to get raped, and the Hound saved her.
Right.
Okay. So now we got a new High Sparrow that'll be playing a big role this season and going forward.
And this is a new character or somebody we've seen before?
It's I think to the show it should be pretty much a new character. But he was definitely once someone else that should be familiar, that is reborn and is now a new man, so to speak.
Oh wow!
He'll definitely it's a familiar, if not a familiar character. I'm trying to remember what happened in the show. Definitely a familiar name.
Okay.
But I'll just leave it at that. But Lancel is now a disciple of the High Sparrow. He's a Sparrow now, and obviously has this little conversation with Cersei, going, I forgive myself, and I just want I forgive you, because they basically reveal that
right,
he purposely played a role to put Robert in position to get himself killed when he was on that boar hunt. Like, It looks like he spiked his wine a little more. Which I'm sure it was. Lancel didn't seem like the type of person that would do something like that on his own. He'd be manipulated to do so, and so he poses a potential danger to Cersei because he has this knowledge. Right. But she seems she's kind of seeming reckless.
Right.
Because didn't seem to be real
non-factor.
Yeah. She kind of just whatever.
She's like, okay, yeah.
She's shooing him away, but not really realizing that he's a threat. It seemed like.
Right.
So I'm seeing Cersei as someone who's kind of getting reckless.
Yeah, she's getting real reckless.
Getting a little drunk. She's getting a little consumed by her bitterness and.
Right.
And she got her own, consumed by her own affairs, not really looking big picture that this could be a problem for her.
Right.
Which is good for us because it's not like we want to see her win.
Yeah, right? Definitely.
So, so King Robert, well, can't even get drunk these days and go on a boar hunt without coming back alive. And you die. What's up with that? Can a man just have a few drinks, kill a boar, and come back okay?
He can't do that.
If that's
not on this show.
If you can't live and do that, he didn't want to live.
He didn't want to live
anyway.
He did.
Ooh, next we're still in King's Landing, and we get our first taste of some man love.
Yeah.
That's one thing about this show. They're like, all right, all you
But all the shows are doing it now, you know. And hey, I no hater, but it's not my cup of tea. So I'm like,
I don't. Whatever. I mean, obviously, you know, I get a kick out of it more than anything because I'm like, I laugh at all right, all you guys that like this show because all the naked women here, bam, you got to deal with this too. You want this, you're gonna get this. You know,
you're gonna rise and fall. Yeah. Rise on Khaleesi,
you like being a Little Fingers brothel when there's 8 women around doing their thing.
That's fine.
You want that? Well, bam. Here's a little bit of what was his name? Here's a little bit of the Red Viper. You know, he's got his little girl, but he's got his little man too. You got to deal with that.
Exactly.
That's Westeros, baby.
Exactly.
That's how we do.
That's how we do it, Westeros.
So I like that aspect of it. I'm like, all right, fine. If you're gonna have sexuality, we're gonna have sexuality.
The sister
from
looked
all
like
angles.
she wanted to join in for a second. I was like, what?
Yeah, sexuality is a lot more open and very, very different in Westeros as far as that goes. Yeah, you're right. I saw that the sister was checking out the boy toy.
Right.
You know, and you can tell. We all know already. We can tell by her that she's no innocent little princess.
Right.
So to speak.
Right.
And Cersei knows that too. And I'm like, you can see her already working Tommen. Like she's working that out.
She's working him out, and then and working him out, and then bragging about working him out.
So and Cersei's very worried because I think she knows that. That's a serious
she knows
threat.
What the power is, where the power lies.
And Marjorie knows what gifts she has and how to use them.
Oh yes, she's smart.
Has a quick talk with Tyrell. Loras, kicks the little boy toy out of the bed and has a quick talk with him. Basically, just like, hey man, you got to quit screwing around. You got to keep, we got to keep your eye on the ball, so to speak.
Right.
And he's like, well, what? We're fine.
He's like, he don't care if he.
Tywin's dead. I don't have to marry Cersei. You don't have, you're. And he doesn't seem to see, and she's a little frustrated by that.
Right.
That it's not like everything's hunky dory.
Right.
We got to be careful. Wow, we're talking some Thrones here.
Hour, man.
I like it. Whatever. All right, we're getting there. I'm not bored.
Let's go.
I can do this. I can do this all day. We're back in Marine. After that, we have a little chat. This is where one of the noblemen comes to Khaleesi back in Marine.
Right.
Can't remember his name, but he'll play a part going forward. Pretty big part. Asking Daenerys to reopen the fighting pits, what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Which we already kicked into that, and he explains that it's part of their culture. It's a part of, it's like, they want their NFL back.
Right.
It's basically, and she's not seeing it. She's like, no, doesn't even entertain it. We flash to her in bed with, what's his name? The second son's boy.
Man,
I'm drawing a blank.
I can't think of his name either.
Oh,
he's like a sellsword too.
Sellsword,
Right.
Hey, this is gonna happen on this show. Happens to everybody. We're gonna forget names at times.
Right. It's so many names.
It's ridiculous.
Jeez, I can't.
Anyway, her little boy toy, so to speak, right now. Who seems I won't even get it, but it seems to have a little
lucky guy.
Has a little plan of his own, I think, too. It doesn't seem like a guy who doesn't have a plan.
Right.
But he's talking to her and explaining, because she doesn't understand what life is on this side of the sea,
right,
in Essos or wherever they're, the free cities, and he's explaining, hey, look, I was sold off by my own mother and into slavery.
Right.
And she's like freaked out about it. He goes, no, I was a bad kid.
Right.
It's not a big, it's not a tragic thing to him because he was grown up.
Right.
He's grown up in this society, so it's not. He goes, it's not a big deal. He goes, hey, and the fighting pits are basically. It's why I'm here. I became a stud in the fighting pits, became a celebrity status, was freed by my master because of the money I made him,
right,
which allowed me to eventually come to you. So he goes, for the fight, I credit the fighting pits for everything I accomplished.
Right.
Trying to open her eyes to what we talked about, to that culture, and
right,
that yes, there's you can look at it in a negative way as far as the barbaric aspects of it, but there's also a positive aspect. There's good stories coming out of it too.
Right, definitely.
Trying to get her to,
like you said, NFL. Yeah, you get concussions.
Right.
Yeah, there's all this other crap. But look at there's a if you got rid of it.
Right. So she's looks like she may be beginning to be a little more open to the idea, like, because she's obviously values his opinion among other things.
Right.
But so maybe she's starting to think twice about her hard stance on it. We'll see. The other thing she does after she gets out of that, another big concern of hers, obviously, we hadn't seen the dragons.
Right.
We know one of the dragons, I think Drogon, is gone.
Right.
He gone.
Right.
He's out eating children, sheep, whatever. you know what.
Whoever is on.
We don't know where
edge
that dragon
of
is.
cliffs.
There's a random dragon flying around.
Right.
You know, she's got her little all over Marine's got her little papers up on them. Have you seen my dragon? You know, because no, she actually hadn't said anything because she's freaking out.
Yeah, and she's scared.
There's all right, and that's the other thing that oh god, what was his name? He said to her, and basically gave her advice. Said, hey, look, you know, people are starting to lose respect.
Oh yeah, so you're not the mother of something. You're the queen of dragons.
Yeah, you're not the mother.
You're not the mother of these people. You're the mother of dragons.
Yeah, you're not the mother because she goes. I have an army. I'm fine. I have the Unsullied. He goes. You're not the mother of the Unsullied. You're the mother of dragons. That's where your power lies.
Right. Anybody could buy Unsullied.
And like you're scared. Basically, he knows she's scared of her dragon because she's scared she can't control him anymore.
Right.
They've gotten huge. Remember, she doesn't know anything about him. Her family throughout history. And remember, dragons haven't been around for a couple hundred years.
Right.
So her family used to ride them. You know, there's some connection, magical connection between the Targaryen blood and the blood of dragons, which allows them to control dragons, ride them, all that stuff.
Right.
She doesn't know it.
Right.
Because obviously, if you have that key to understanding dragons in your family,
right,
and it gives you ultimate power, you ain't going to share that information.
Right. Definitely. Right.
So 200 years ago, all of a sudden the dragons are all extinct and all killed. Well, all that information is going to die with them.
Right.
So she's flying. She knows she has a connection to the dragons. She has no way on how to use it.
Right.
And how to apply it.
Right.
There's no template. There's no one to ask. Her family's dead. Who's she going to ask? Right?
Right.
And it's not like it's known information, because if it was known information, everybody'd have a dragon.
Right.
You know, and that was the whole Targaryen power. That's where it lied. So she's learning on the fly. She doesn't know, you know, so she's scared to death because these dragons aren't the cute, cuddly little ones flying on her shoulders anymore.
Nah,
they're pissed.
Yeah. And they're mad because she got them locked up.
Right. So she needs to go. So she goes to her dragons. The other two are trapped, which in this dragon-ready cell.
Yeah.
Like, how does Marine have it? How does that work? That's the only thing I wondered. I'm like, man, this isn't
like maybe they had giants locked up in there.
You're like, hey, let's build. You know, this is a society where it's like, okay, let's build a new building. Okay, it'll be done in 37 years. You know what I mean? Like, we actually just have something dragon ready. Like, I'm looking at it going, if that dragon really wanted to, can he just, you know, they got chains on him. I'm like, really? The thing breathes fire. Can he just
melt?
All right, you just melt the chain. Right, but we'll see. But she goes to try to talk to the dragons, and the dragons are not happy to see her.
Hey, I don't think she gave a valiant effort though.
No, she's scared.
Right. They blew a little fire, but nobody tried to. If they wanted to get her, they could have got her.
They obviously if they wanted to kill her,
right,
they could have tried.
Got her like right there. It would have been easy.
Because they breathed fire and purposely breathed it away from her. It's like making a point. Like, hey, let us out. That's bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
So
why you play it?
Anyway, yeah. So we'll see. She runs out of the dragon cell.
Yeah.
Scared. But, you know, she understands, but she's going to have to face her fear at some point, we think, with these dragons. Because, like I said, she's the mother of dragons. She wants to rule. She's got to rule those dragons.
Right.
So, and she's got to figure out how. All right. So, we went ahead a little bit. They went back to the wall. I think this is actually when the actual talk between Jon Snow and Mance Rayder happened, what we talked to you about.
Right.
But, so now we're to the point where Mance Rayder is now going to the... What do they call it? Is that a pyre? Is that what they call that? Where they light you on fire? The platform, they got it all set up. They bring him out. They tie him up. They noose him or whatever. No, I don't think they noose him. They just tie him up.
No, they didn't noose him. They didn't noose him. They just handcuffed him behind his back, like handcuffed his hands behind his back with the pole in the middle. So they didn't really
So
do anything else but restrict his hands behind the pole.
That's got to be a hell of a walk right there, boy. Gets up there, gets tied up.
I thought he was going to change his mind, man, because he gave the look like, oh, my goodness. Like,
and I was so worried, dude, because it was a long, drawn out, like, the fire's building, I go, are we actually going to see this guy burn? Like,
but you know what? Like his, you know, and I'll go back and watch it again, but it seems like my first impression off of watching it was like, what a great actor this guy was.
Oh, he's a phenomenal actor. Kieran Hines or something. Kieran Hines.
Well, because you see, it's like he's got this, you know, like he's tied there, and he's got this kind of stern drum look, and he's looking at his dude. I guess who's that guy? His second in command or whatever. The other,
Tormund Giantsbane.
Yeah, he's kind of just kind of focusing on him, like, dude, you got to be the man, type of thing. And she starts to fire, and you're like. like, at what point does he start feeling the heat at least? Because it's fire, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're an actor, you don't just go. You're not just gonna scream when the flames touch your skin. You're gonna start like tripping out when when your bottom of your feet start getting hot because the platform is burning. And so he did a good job of like
Right.
like and without fire even being on him, but he feeling the heat. You know what I mean? Like just wow. Like the guy is great, man.
He's a great actor.
And
I don't know if you ever watched. He was in Rome. You ever watch Rome on HBO?
Yeah,
He was Julius Caesar.
Okay,
He played,
yeah,
and he was
sure
great in that. So when he came on this show, that's one thing that disappointed. I was shocked he died because that doesn't happen in the books.
Okay,
Like in the books, like we said, he kind of
he does that where they're saving everybody.
In the books, they do not a goofy thing where Melisandre saves him, glamours him to make him look like a different character that's never been in the show.
Right.
And they kill the other character,
right,
but save Mance because Melisandre, the Red Priestess, values him because he's a king. Right. King's blood and all that stuff.
Right.
And Mance ends up going on another mission. In other words, his storyline continues. He's still alive in the books.
Right.
As of right now. So this is a departure from the books that the show's doing.
Right.
And it shocked me because, like you said, you had such a great actor playing this role. I was expecting him to really play a big role this season.
Right.
Because this is a well-known actor who has acting chops, knows what he's doing.
Right.
And to see him get killed I was shocked. And when the arrow went through his chest, I was waiting for, I'm like, it's going to rain or something weird's going to happen.
Right.
Like they're going to realize, like the Red Priest is going to go, the fire god saved him, it rained. Or
right. Some kind of excuse.
They're going to somehow avoid doing the whole glamour thing.
Right.
But still have him be alive, and they killed him.
Yeah.
And that shocked me. I think the reason why it shocked me most is because of the actor who was playing Mance Rayder.
Right.
He was so established. This was some nobody I didn't know. I'm like, I wouldn't be as surprised.
Right.
And knowing that he goes forward in the book. So, I mean, right there, that's a major departure from the books. It is a major character, even though in the show, he wasn't as major. We got a few conversations in the tent, essentially. But I mean, he was good when he was on the show.
Right.
Played the big role, obviously, at the battle at the wall, in last season. But I'm just surprised that they got rid of him, that they killed him off. And, so they're basically, that's another example. I told you the fat trimming going on.
Right.
Apparently, they knew what happens with Mance Rayder and realized it wasn't vital to the story they're telling.
Right.
And they just ended it right now.
Right.
Because he ends up playing a role in the fight against those Boltons I was telling you about.
Oh man, okay.
Mance Rayder does. He's on a mission. There's this whole thing. I go ahead and tell it because obviously it's not going to happen.
Right.
But there's this whole thing where the Boltons claim that they found Arya Stark, and that they're marrying Ramsay, the wacko one that jumped to Arya Stark. But the girl's not really Arya Stark. Okay.
Right.
It's some other girl, Jane Poole or something. Can't remember. I think that's the right name. I remember that name. But and Jon Snow hears that his sister is being married to this lunatic, and sends Mance Rayder with a group of people to go save her.
Right.
And that's the last we've seen of him at that point.
Huh.
So, but that's all not going to happen now.
Right,
That whole,
right.
I mean, so it's a significant storyline that's not played out yet.
And then don't they got Sansa is in negotiations with marrying him?
No, Sansa's with Littlefinger.
Right, but I thought
No, Sansa's just the true holder of the North. They don't even know Sansa's alive.
Okay.
Littlefinger has Sansa.
But what was Littlefinger telling her? That she should marry?
He wants her to marry. He's telling her he's going to marry some higher up from the Eyrie.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I can't remember his name, but
he was talking about,
like you're going to be, that way you're in position to be queen of the Eyrie. You're going to marry this guy, and be queen of the Eyrie and be queen of, or not queen. Yeah, I guess, queen of the Eyrie, and you're going to be the Lord of Winterfell once we reveal you.
Right.
I don't know if he really plans on having her marry that guy,
right,
or if that's just what she's telling him right now. And eventually you're going to put her in a position to force her to marry him,
right,
him being Littlefinger. We'll see. But like you said, there's this whole fake Arya storyline going on that hasn't played out in the books.
Right.
So that's all gone.
Right.
Right. What was the other one that what was the other? We talked about it. Like the prophecies got really cut down.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
yeah, right.
they're getting rid of that. There's Marine is getting, I think, is going to get cut down quite a bit. I don't know if they'll go through the whole. There's a whole thing. We'll see. I'm seeing
with her marrying that dude
right.
And then
the one she's supposed to marry in the books.
Right.
I mean, we might be giving away something on the show. Is the one that came begging for the fighting pits.
Right. Right. And then yeah. We don't want to.
I don't know if they're going to go in. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to go in. Because I always seem very. When I read the books, it seemed very out of place, and also it didn't make sense for her to be going to get married. Right. I didn't see her motivation for doing it.
Right.
Oh, I want to get the people on my side. I'm like, well, if you got to do that by marrying someone, you're not really much of a leader.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to change that around because I think the conversation.
I feel like some kind of chaos, has to happen to force her to learn how to control the dragons.
Right. Well, yeah, that there is a chaos.
So something's gonna, because book wise, there was some, that was that betrayal, and then she ended up, whatever. I don't want to give away, but you know what I'm saying, like,
right.
So like if they don't go that route, like that storyline of her, possibly marrying him leads to something. So then, if they're gonna go with that same route, then what else what they're gonna do to lead that way, unless that guy that she's sleeping with plays some kind of a sneaky role.
I think they can still, the event where all that happens it's still online to happen.
Okay.
I think they're gonna cut directly to that.
Okay.
And I think that will happen this season, because it did happen in the 5th book, but I think because it goes, I think the conversation she had, again I can't remember, with her little boy toy, the second son's boy,
right.
About him and convince her about the fighting pits.
Right.
Convincing in the book comes from that guy and their relationship, like him gaining trust with her. But I think that little conversation right there is serving to open her eyes to the fighting pit. They might do a little thing where maybe she's entertaining the idea, and then all hell breaks loose and it never happens. But I don't think I'll be shocked if the wedding actually, because she does get married.
Right.
And I'm safe, I don't want to spoil stuff, but. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm feeling pretty confident that part's not going to happen.
Okay.
Along with the other thing we were talking about, we didn't mention before, the other fat cutting I think they've already done was the Lady Stoneheart,
right,
angle, which is
Stark mom.
Catelyn Stark.
Yeah, Catelyn.
Obviously know Catelyn Stark was killed in the Red Wedding in the books. Right. She's brought back by Beric Dondarrion, the leader, or not the leader, but he's a red priest like Melisandre, like the redhead.
Right. The guy that dies. And
he can bring him. Yeah. He can't come back. Or he comes back. He's not the red priest. There's another. I can't. What's his name? Moros Athir was the priest that's with that Beric Dondarrion, and he could bring Beric back. Didn't know why he could, but Beric would die. Remember the Hound we saw on the show? The Hound killed him, and then Beric prayed over him and brought him back.
Right.
But we knew every time he comes back, he's coming back a little less or something.
Right. Something's off.
Anyway, in the books, they find the dead body of Catelyn Stark, and she's laying in the water because she was sent, down a river.
Right.
And Beric Dondarrion passes his life force over to her, and he dies.
Right.
To revive her, and it's never really explained. And she's coming up more like a zombie. She can't talk because her throat's slit.
Right.
She's kind of like she's like a zombie. Kind of just not really herself, but just a shadow of what she used to be, and she's just all about vengeance on everybody.
Right.
She's kind of more sinister and more of an evil, and that obviously is not happening in the show. That would have happened last season,
right?
Because she comes across Brienne of Tarth, the big, which that was the only part of the episode that we actually skipped over because we did see Brienne.
Oh yeah, right.
And Podrick Payne,
right.
Her squire, where they're basically like,
that's with them.
What the hell are we gonna do?
Right.
We lost Arya, and Pod's trying to tell her, go after Sansa. You still have. And she's frustrated with her failures, her perceived failures.
Right.
But he's telling her, you still have a role to play. You still have your oath.
Right.
You still have a mission. Don't give up.
So, right.
Anyway, but that was a real short thing. It was funny because they made a little trick because when the Littlefinger and Sansa are riding in their little, what are they called? Whatever.
Buggy wagon.
They roll right by.
Carriage.
They roll right by Brienne and Pod having their little conversation.
Right.
So, anyway, and that was the end. We saw Mance. Oh, by the way, we didn't really get to the end. Mance Rayder's burning, and then Jon Snow takes an arrow and shoots him in the heart to save him from having to burn alive.
Right.
You know, so Jon Snow is continuing to show compassion and leadership skills.
And Stannis sends him on a mission because of that, didn't he?
No, that hadn't happened.
Okay.
The show ends right there once he shits in the heart. I'm sure
right,
you're getting ahead.
Okay. I didn't say that.
Anyway, based on and that was the big shocker at the end, and that was a big shocker. That's why I didn't understand people saying the episode was slow and boring. I'm like, we saw a guy burning alive, and we shot him in the heart, and it was a.
Well, you know, you know how.
What do you want?
We do live in America, so.
What you want?
It's got to be gory. It's got to be so. I don't know. They want the red wedding every episode.
So
no build up. Don't build anything up. Just tear it all down.
That is the end of this week's. Real quick, if we want to go over the previews for next week, we're finally going to Dorne, baby.
Yes,
Dorne. It looks like, based on the books, this is like, what's the way I can explain it? This is like I don't know, coastal. What do I want to say? Spain, maybe?
Yeah, Spain.
You know,
well, yeah, but then it's
all
kind of an Indian, like
there's a deserty feel, but there's water gardens. You know, people playing in water, and
it reminds me. What was that video game? Prince of Persia.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Persian or something.
You know, another. It's the southernmost region of Westeros, so it's a part of. You know, it's under the rule of King's Landing, but much like the Eyrie and Highgarden, but more so like the Eyrie, the region protects it from attacks.
Right.
So it's like the Eyrie, where it's kind of impenetrable. Like you know, King's Landing might want to go down there, and they kind of they're associated, but they're not. They can kind of do their own thing because they're not in any immediate threat. You can't come get them. So and there's a lot of, we know that because remember the Red Viper was one of the princes of Dorne,
right?
And he came with no love for the Lannisters because knowing that his sister, who was married to
wait. So is he the one who fought for Tyrion in a trial?
Right. He's the one that fought for Tyrion in the trial because he wanted to kill the Mountain.
So they're going
because
be
the
pissed.
Mountain. Remember, back to the beginning of this episode.
Right.
Cersei was all excited about marrying the prince, Rhaegar Targaryen.
Right.
She ends up not marrying the prince.
Right.
Elia Martell does. Elia Martell marries, which is the Red Viper's sister.
Right.
Is the one that marries Rhaegar Targaryen, who's eventually raped and killed by the Mountain by the perceived orders of Tywin Lannister.
Right.
Because he was Tywin's right hand, his ward general essentially.
Right.
He was did his dirty work. That's the whole reason why the Red Viper came to King's Landing, because he wanted to kill the Mountain, eventually probably kill Tywin Lannister if he found out that he was the one that gave the order.
Right.
Remember that whole storyline last season. So now we're going to Dorne, and we get to meet the Martell family just after getting word that that the Red Viper has just been killed.
Wait a minute. Isn't Cersei's daughter there?
Yes. Tyrion, when he was the hand of the king, sent Myrcella down there as kind of like because that's how things worked in Westeros.
Like, hey,
peace offering. Also to keep people in check and keep people. Remember, kids aren't not your children that you protect. Kids are gaming chips. They're investments. You send them out to try to build power for your family, or wards. Theon was a ward of Winterfell,
right?
Because Theon's father tried to attack King's Landing in Westeros and lost. And they go, okay,
give up his only son.
We'll let you. You got to give up your only son. We'll let you keep your land and keep everything.
Because if the father dies, they know Theon. He's got their name. He's got the rights to that.
Not only that, but they keeps him in check because they got your only born son.
Right.
But at the same time, you get that only born son, you raise him in Winterfell, so maybe he'll be raised with more respect. For that society. So when he goes back and eventually rules, there'll be a better working environment. That's what the whole point of kids are, wards. So Tyrion sent him because even at that time, he knew there's bad blood between the Lannisters and the Martells of Dorne. So he sent Myrcella there to try to ease that. Tyrion's smart, which is a smart move. Cersei
is smart.
Cersei hated it.
Of course.
Cersei doesn't care about that stuff. So we're going to meet Myrcella is there. We're going to see how that's going. We're going to meet the Red Viper's brother, who I think will be very different than what you perceived he would be.
Right.
We're going to meet his now remember, bastard children aren't looked at the same way they are in King's Landing and the rest of Westeros.
Right.
They're not looked at as something bad. They're accepted in the family. And he has many bastard daughters, 3 of which are known as the Sand Snakes. Or I don't know if only 3.
The Red Viper has 3 daughters?
Yeah, and they're known as the Sand Snakes, and we're going to meet. I don't know if all his daughters know that because they're called Sands. Remember, bastard kids are always named after the region. Jon Snow is called Snow because of Winterfell.
In the north.
So all bastard children are named Sand in.
Right.
So, but these are all they're called the Sand Snakes. They're the bastard daughters of the Red Viper.
Right.
And they're no joke, right? So you're going to meet them. We're going to go to a sunny place with water gardens where children are frolicking in water gardens and playing. But things are going to get serious down there too.
Yeah.
And we get to see where Arya. Now they scenes from next week show Arya where she's going.
Right. What's up with her? What's going on with her?
She's heading to that house of black and white or whatever. Right. You remember she took that coin.
To get to that guy that be shape shifting and stuff.
Yeah. What was
That's because doesn't he owe her a favor? He gave her some kind of coin
Bravos.
or something.
Yeah, Bravos.
Yeah.
She's in Bravos. She sailed to Bravos because she got that coin, and she's kind of looking for basically him. Jack and Nagar was his name.
To learn what he
does.
Right.
She knows he's an assassin of sorts.
Right.
You can tell now she's got the taste for blood. And
oh yeah.
Arya's on a different path than what her parents intended.
Right.
So she's heading to this house of black and white because that's where she's told she will find who she's looking for.
Right.
Because she figures, remember, in her perspective, her whole family's dead. She doesn't know there's still living remnants of the Starks.
Right.
So we're going to get to see the House of Black and White, which I'm excited for next week. What else did they show? Oh, they showed dragons. I seen a dragon flying in that preview. Yeah. I don't know if it's for next week, but I saw a dragon flying. We're going to be in Marine. Khaleesi, troubles are rising in Marine for Khaleesi. Right. We'll see where that goes.
Right.
That's pretty much it. I think we've covered
sufficiently.
I think this is officially our longest podcast ever. I don't got no problem.
Hey, that's a good one though.
Yeah. But anyway, we got to get going. We will see you next week. We want to do this every week.
That's right. Check us out, iTunes, Stitcher. We'll send some Facebook updates if you're on there, Twitter, Instagram. So like our stuff so we could continue to do it.
Yep, Dish of Thrones. We'll be doing this. I think we'll be kicking off the wrestling dish. Will be back in the mix, and we'll see what else we do going forward.
Yep, I can't wait.
All right. Hey, Chris, this was fun, man.
This was
Dish of Thrones. We'll see you next time.
We out.